Today's guest is Kelsi Biondo. She is the head of operations for one of the fastest growing thrift shops. They have just installed a new location in Kent, Ohio, and are making a name in this college town. In this interview, we talk about the infant stages of branded and what young entrepreneurs and those who are in small companies can do to really make a name for themselves and have a huge impact. So, if you support your local legends, like, share, and subscribe, and stick around to hear the interview. What is branded in Kent?
So Branded at Kent is so we're a vintage clothing store. We specialize in like 80s, 90s. Vintage is like 20 years or older, so really anything kind of in that ballpark. But sometimes a little bit older, a little bit newer, it just depends. And then we do limited release sneakers, so like not your typical like sneakers like Jordans, Yeezy, stuff like that. More stuff that just like sells online and you can't really find.
Nice. So tell, like, one of the things that I learned about the store, the company itself, is that it is one of the only vintage stores that is like self-supplied. What exactly does that mean? Because to me, I think a thrift store, of course, they're going to get people coming in, bringing them stuff, but maybe the owner's going out to flea markets and getting things too. So why does that make you guys stand out?
Um, so basically, most of the time in the vintage world, it is more like what you were thinking. And we do still buy, sell, trade off of the community, but that just becomes hard to rely solely on the community to bring you pieces. You know what I mean? And vintage is so weird that not everyone really knows, or like, most people that have vintage clothing, like especially like Harley Davidson, Banty, stuff like that, they like hoard it. You know what I mean? Like they don't want to get rid of it. They want to keep it forever. So you spend so much of your time just like going to thrift stores and like going to estate sales and like we did some storage units last summer. We found a lot of cool clothes, but it's like so much work versus what we do is we actually own a textile recycling facility in the vintage community. They're called rag houses. So basically the easiest way to explain it is if you've ever been to Goodwill bins, we basically have our own. So we kind of buy off of nonprofits. We do have some bins placed around the Butler area ourselves. Both of the owners are veterans, and like Butler's such a small town as we know everyone, so we're like, hey, can we put a bin there? And it just says like veteran owned textile recycling. So then from there, we process between I would say around 80,000 pounds a month by hand, sorting through it, picking out the vintage. We keep some for eBay. All the vintage goes towards the stores. We do source for a couple other places, but then the rest of it gets rebaled up and it gets sent to a grader, and they like grade it. It's like A, B, C, just based off like condition, and then that gets sent overseas to Africa.
Wow, that's an intense process. I didn't realize so much went into that. How did you even get into that to begin with? You personally, how did you get into this industry and get into
Me personally, it's actually like so random. Me personally, I was like COVID. They opened up their shop in Butler in 2019. It pretty much just started, like I said, they would do estate sales, they would do yard sales, they do stuff like that. They're just resellers. They would just resell whatever really they could get their hands on. But they're doing it like on eBay and Facebook Marketplace, and that's just hard. And they knew someone who had just bought a building downtown, so they were like, okay, let's get this building, let's open up a store. I think it started because they found like an old box of Harley Davidson tees. That's what was really big back then. And they sold a couple tees for like $100 a piece. And that's what kind of got them hooked. Is it like, one tee, $100? Like that's kind of crazy. So they got into it that way. They spent like a year remodeling the first store that we have themselves. They put down like flooring, painted. There's like a cool mural in there. It's a really cool little shop. But I came aboard. It was like COVID, obviously, we shut down for a little bit. I came aboard about the end of COVID. So like August 2020, September 2020 is when I started working there. It was like so random. We just like met each other. I would just shop there all the time. And like they knew where I worked. I worked at like a vape store, and they like just thought I was like cool, whatever. And they were like, do you want a job? So I started working there. And then December of 2020 is when they opened the rag house. It really like I don't want to like say it was me because it wasn't me, but before I worked there, they were working the store just themselves, the two owners. So you can imagine you don't have much free time when you're either going out picking every day trying to find vintage, or you're sitting at the shop for we're open 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you don't really have much time for anything else. So when I came aboard and started working, I used to work, some weeks I worked 7 days, 8 hours a day for them. Most of the time it was just 5 days, but whatever. But it freed up a lot of their time. So they pretty much just started like cold calling these like donation companies, like, like Goodwill, those type of places. And eventually someone said yes to letting us buy off them, which is so, so rare. Usually they don't let you do that. It's super weird. It's super hush hush. Like, it's really weird in like the vintage community, but eventually someone said yes. We started buying, a couple at a time. I have this video from when we first opened the warehouse. It was just like they just threw a blanket down and we just started cutting open bales and just sorting. And there was like this huge, ginormous pile of clothing, probably like 10 feet tall, of just clothes sitting in the corner that we went through that we just didn't want. We didn't know what to do with it yet. And then just kind of built from there. We got cages in there. So now we kind of separate everything, like men's, women's, store, eBay, like kids, everything like that. Eventually we want to get into kids and more women's and everything like that. We just don't have the space right now.
Right. Now, how was that transition from, because it seems like you got in there right before they had made this huge transition to where they're getting this huge influx of supply to, from previously going to shop and finding to own supplies themselves. How was that transition? Because that must have been very like overwhelming at the beginning, I would imagine.
It was very overwhelming. I give a lot of credit to the guys, the owners, because they're both like, they're such like hardworking. Like when they set their mind on something, they're just gonna go for it. Like nothing's gonna stop them. And like I'm similar to that. I would say like I'm really passionate in what I do. Even when I just started as like a sales associate, like whatever. But like I put my 100% energy into anything that I do. And I think they really saw that, and that's what made them really like me. And that's why now I'm like operations manager of both stores and everything like that. But it was a crazy transition. I used to, like I said, there were literally weeks. There was a girl who would used to just work on the weekends when I first started. She was like a college kid, but she eventually like quit. I don't know. It was kind of funny actually the way she quit. But anyways, she quit. And then I was working 7 days a week, 8 hours a day. They were paying me good, and like I would go to the warehouse after work. There were days, I think we used to like close on Sundays, and then we would like close on Mondays just so that I would have time to go out to the warehouse to help them sort and stuff like that. Like it was crazy, but it was awesome because like honestly, the jeans that I'm wearing right now, I got from there, and they're like Urban Outfitters. So they're like $80 jeans that I got for free. So it was cool. It was fun. A lot of work, kind of messy. The warehouse is still a little dirty, but it's cool.
That's awesome. And that's such a really cool story that you have, that you started off as a sales associate and now you're operating two locations for the stores. Now, how did you guys decide to move from Butler, I think that's in Pennsylvania, right?
Mhm.
To Kent? What made like how did you guys make that decision?
It actually started off as a joke. Um, an old employee of ours, and actually a girl who worked for us last summer, she goes to school up here, and an old employee of ours, they were just kind of like, "Oh, Kent's really cool." And we're just Butler, Pennsylvania. Like it's kind of middle. It's like 40 minutes north of Pittsburgh, but it's about an hour and a half from here. So we were like, "Oh yeah, whatever, maybe Kent." And then we just started looking into it more. I mean, it's a fashion school. We did some research around like medium household income, and it is actually higher than average in the Kent area. Plus where we're at right now, it's like I said, kind of middle of nowhere. We were kind of like, if we can make it work there, we can really make it work anywhere, especially like a college town with such a high population and stuff like that. And it's only an hour and a half away. I don't know if I said that, but so it's like not too far.
Yeah, and now about your journey to get to where you're at exactly. Could you tell a little bit more about that? Because okay, you started as a sales associate, and did it just happen because you were one of their first employees that were working with them, or I know you mentioned that you're a hard worker, and that had a lot to do with it. And you're very passionate, but for somebody who's maybe just as ambitious as you are, and sees that they have an opportunity at this small company, like what was your pathway, and is there any advice that you would give somebody who's like, I want to work my way up in this small business because I see potential?
I mean, it is a little bit like about, you kind of have to put yourself in the right mindset. Like if I'm being like 100% completely honest, like I did not make the most money when I first started. Even right now for my title, I don't make like an amazingly high salary. I make enough. I'm great. Like I'm doing really well. I'm happy. I'm comfortable. I get, what I need to do done. But like I'm more in it because like I really get along with the owners. We have such a good company work culture that we all get along so well. It's such an enjoyable place to work. Like before I lived 3 minutes from the shop. When I moved here, I lived 3 minutes from there. Like not having a commute is a big thing for me. I've always kind of got to make my own hours, and they really like listen to me and like what I have to say and value my opinion and my thoughts and stuff. So that's really important to me. So I would say just kind of like putting yourself in the right headspace of like it's not all about the money. It's more about like cultivating like relationships and just like really working your butt off. Like I never went to school or anything like that. I don't know how else to say it other than I just worked really hard. Like, any day they would need me to come in like on the weekends or pull extra shifts or come and help at the warehouse. Like I was always so down because like I don't know. I mean, obviously like a little bit of money, but like just like helping build the company, and because I can just really see potential in this company. Like I can just tell that they're going to be huge. Like I even before I worked there, I loved shopping there so much. Like I wanted to work there, you know.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I feel like this is a huge thing that's taking over uh, the culture right now, and that's thrifting. And so I think that the idea behind it and the marketing too, you go to your website and you see that Branded is on track to reduce the textile pollution by like 1 million pounds or something, which is huge. I mean, it's in comparison to what the amount is yearly. It's very low, but considering that they're growing, I mean that's huge.
Oh yeah, 100%. And like aside like that's a big thing for me too, the sustainability aspect of it. Like I'm a vegetarian, like I love the environment, I'm really big into stuff like that. So being able to be behind a company that not only do I love what I do and love thrifting and love the vintage part of it, but that I also get to say I'm doing a good thing. And we work with a lot of charities, I get to know a lot of people and like just meet really cool people. It's just like I don't know, it's just like a really fun job. I'd rather have a fun job than a job that's going to pay me like $2 million. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
Like I actually wake up like not every day, but 90% of the time, I'm like so happy to go to work.
no, and not many people get to say that. So it's really a kind of a blessing, if you will, that you're able to have that kind of position. And I would say that culture is really important, especially for small businesses. I have a small business myself. I have a commercial cleaning company. And right now, I have one employee. And the biggest thing that I have found being the owner, like I've taken a step back from doing a lot of the cleaning and I just do a lot more of the managing side of things. Although I do help him clean, especially when we get new accounts and stuff, because those
Yeah.
cleanings are difficult, especially the first time around. But the biggest thing that I find is that he's not getting paid very well. Obviously, I can't. As a small business owner, it's hard to pay them what they can make going somewhere else working a full-time job. So the
Mhm.
most important thing is creating that culture and trying to show your people, hey, this could actually work out for you in the long haul. These are some of the skills and things that you can learn here that you can't learn there. And
Mhm.
in actuality, it's going to be more valuable to get these skills here. Put that up, like if you wanted to leave this place, I'm giving you, like, it sounds wrong when I'm like, I'm giving you this opportunity, but you're given this opportunity to develop these skills that you can then translate to something else that could be higher paying. And
No,
it seems like you
100%.
caught on to that too.
Yeah, 100%, especially, like, with what we do, like, the shoe game and the vintage game, I don't know, that sounded really lame when I said that, but both of those, like, communities, they can be really tight-knit, and when you really get in there, they honestly can be, like, really cliquey, so it's really hard to learn. People are really, like, hush-hush about, like, where they get their stuff, what they do, that kind of stuff. It can be really hard, so learning, just learning about vintage and learning about shoes and just getting that basic knowledge. I mean, they're two, I always say they're two things that I don't think you can ever really say that you're an expert in because there's always something new. There's still like vintage brands that I don't know, shoe brands that I don't know. Like it's always changing, you know. But that knowledge, what you could go out now and any of our employees can go out and easily get a side hustle selling shoes or selling vintage, Depop, Poshmark, all that stuff. Like that is easily skills, that they can be transferred. And even two of our employees right now, we're looking at trying to do like paid internships for them over the summer. They're both like marketing kids and like we need help doing that. You need an internship. You already work here. We'll pay you to do this, you know?
Right.
So like really I just try to make sure everybody really gets along and everybody works together. And you know, I do want to create a good company culture. But that is hard. It is hard when you don't have a lot of employees, and especially right now.
Mhm.
I went from being in the Butler shop like almost every day to moving to Ohio and being in this shop almost every day. So my employees over there, like they miss me and like they're so cute and I feel bad and like they're getting a little bit upset right now that they haven't seen me. So we're planning actually something in April for everyone to get together from the warehouse and both the stores to kind of all hang out and get to know each other.
Oh, that's awesome. That's the smart thing to do. I mean, it sounds like you guys are just going to keep expanding. And on that topic of expansion, I don't know if you have any information. Like, is that what you guys are planning on doing? Like going out of Kent and then expanding? Because maybe
Yeah.
towns would be the ideal place because that's typically where you're going to find that crowd of people in the cities and college towns, the type that want to go thrift shopping, pretty much.
So there is something happening later this year. I can't get too into it. It's more close to home expansion. Um, I don't want to give too much away. I think Lance would absolutely murder me. But uh, in the future, we definitely do want to open more stores. Honestly, we're leaning towards either like more towards Columbus and just like embrace Ohio, or go more towards like State College, like Penn State area, because that's like the other direction. So then we'd have like some in both direction. But that is the goal now, is just to like pick a new college town. Let's go, you know? And then hopefully, I think for me, it'd be really fun if I'd get to travel around and open up every store. Because they both have families. I mean, they can't do that. I mean, like, not to like say like make myself seem lame that I'm single, but I am single and I'm young and I would love to travel and, you know, go to new places and meet new people and do new things while also building the business.
Right, right. No, those are awesome goals. And what is like a skill that you've learned from being in a small company as it's growing that you think is the most valuable?
Oh my god, that's a tough one.
Or
That's a
maybe
tough
you can
one.
list three, maybe not just one, but you can list a couple of those skills that you think are
Um,
extremely valuable to you.
I mean, I don't know if this is too broad, but managing as like a whole, like that's probably the biggest one, like as a whole. That's a lot though. But I had no experience managing ever. You know, I was a server for my whole pretty much that was like my jobs all the time was serving and like, you know, stuff like that. So I've never had a position like that. So them just really giving me the opportunity to, you know, manage other people and like learn and make mistakes. You know, like we're big here, like mistakes happen. I'm gonna accept it and move on as long as they're honest about it and we can just like fix it together, you know what I mean? But just letting me make those mistakes and like I'm not gonna lie, I used to have a really bad like tone issue. Like when I talk to people, like I just have like an attitude. So really I got a chance to really work on that. And I feel like that helped me not only like here, but like as a person, you know? So that was cool. Um, I don't know. Learning about vintage and shoes has been so cool. I mean, people literally every time I go out to the bar, it ends up coming up that I like work here or like run this place, and everyone wants to like, oh my god, tell me about vintage. Tell me about the shoes. Like, tell me about what you guys do. Like, oh my god, can I have a job? Like, so like meeting people, that's also a really big benefit. Is like meeting so many cool people. Like, I know Marvin. Like, he's a really cool guy. We've met him a couple times, and I think his shop's only like 20 minutes from me, you know? So meeting just people around. Last summer, we did a lot of events, and I was the one who traveled and did all the events. So what, we were in Michigan, we were in North Carolina, you know, we did some in Ohio, we went to Philly, I actually spent my birthday at an event with the owners in Philadelphia.
That's awesome. So, how was that transition for you personally from Pennsylvania to Ohio?
Oh, it was a little rocky. I'm not gonna lie. Me and my boyfriend broke up. um, so that was really shitty. I think it was like coming though, so like whatever, I'm not that worried about it. That kind of sucked. It does suck being away from your family a bit. Like I'm not too far, but my mom was living in Key West for the past like almost year or so, and she just moved back to Pittsburgh. So then of course I have to move a whole state away. So that's hard. But you know, like I think it's honestly been really fun. I've been to Kent before. I used to hang out here a lot when I was like 21 because my ex best friend went here. So I know the area is like it's a beautiful area. It's everyone is like super chill, super nice. It's nice to be around. Butler's more like conservative. like Republican. Not that that's like whatever, you do your own thing, but that's just not really my vibe here. Everybody's like so inclusive and open, and like just feel like it's like a better fit environment wise for me. So I think it was a win overall. I'll rate it a win.
Nice. That's awesome. I want to circle back around to something you were talking about earlier when I asked you the question about skills and how you were asked, questions about vintaging and, getting jobs, etc. What is the coolest piece that you have come across, whether it be a shoe or a piece of clothing that's vintage? Like what is your favorite piece that you've come across?
So my favorite piece that I've ever gotten is actually a piece that the guys gifted me for my birthday last year. I'm a big Betty Boop fan. Um, that's my thing. My grandma's really into it. I've always been really into Betty Boop. And then obviously I'm into the Spice Girls. They got me this and I was born in 1998. So keep all that in mind. They bought me this really cool vintage 1998 Betty Boop like Spice Girls t-shirt. And it's in like perfect condition. Like you can look them up and you will not find one in better condition than the one that I own. And they gave it to me for my birthday, and like it's like $300-400 shirt. Like it's like a crazy shirt, and that's definitely like close to my heart. Like I barely ever wear it because it's like in such good condition. I don't want to like ruin it and stuff like that. But it's definitely the best piece I've ever come across. Like at least my personal favorite, like we have cooler pieces here. Like we just found like I was actually in Butler last week at the Butler store, and this lady, we keep all of our high dollar tees, so like $100 and over, like hanging up higher, obviously, because like people steal stuff like that. Whatever. Just don't even want to worry about it. So they're all hanging up really high. So people ask about it all the time, and it's like there's always an awkward conversation because I don't want to be like, just so you know, that shirt is probably like too expensive for you. Like I don't want to say that. Like you can't say that. So I'm just like, oh, okay, like those are high dollar tees. But some lady was like pointing at this one tee and I couldn't see it. So I walk over with the sticky poker and I'm like, oh. And she was like, what? And I was like, let me pull down. This shirt is $1,200. It was like a $1,200 like Deftones t-shirt. Yeah, so that was a little crazy, but that's a pretty cool shirt too. But
wow, I didn't realize that clothing, the vintage clothing, can go for that much. Obviously, there's big name brands out there that sell for thousands of dollars every day. Was that a surprise? Well, first off, side note, I have no clue who the hell Betty the Boop is or whatever her name is.
oh, no.
So people may crucify me for that, and you look like you hate me now. But who is that?
Betty Boop, she's an old cartoon icon. It was actually not a lot of. She's like, if you look her up, if you look up Betty Boop, you're gonna see like this. It's a little white girl character with like curly black hair. I have a tattoo of her.
Okay, I think I know who you're talking
and she
about.
always has like cute little outfits and like purses and stuff. She's actually based off of like a black woman who used to perform. I can't remember her name, but yeah, she's just like an old cartoon character, and she always says like boop boop ba doop, and like she's just cute. I don't know. You'll have to go and watch your cartoon.
All right, I guess I have some homework to do now. I'll look up some Betty the Boop YouTube stuff or Betty Boop. I keep saying Betty the Boop. I want to just add the in there. It just seems like it flows better to me with the. But anyway, I'll do some research on that. Now, the other thing that stuck out to me too here was a $1,200 T-shirt.
Yes.
Was that a surprise to you to find out that vintage clothing can go to get that high?
100%, 100%. I mean, I try to look at it. I look at it like two different ways. I'm like, yes, that is absolutely crazy insane, but I'm also not going to sit here and act like I don't have dresses that I've spent $100, $200, $300 on. And the 90% of the time, I bet that company was like fast fashion, at least not that good for the environment, and it's like probably not as good quality. Like, let's be real. So that definitely did surprise me. But as of the last year or so, I do all the pricing myself. So I'm learning a lot. I like the way that I price things is I look it up. I look up almost everything up except for like pieces that like are just like mid grade, I would say, that I kind of know just from like doing this for so long, how long they sell for and how much people are going to pay for them. Anything else that I'm like, I don't know. And I look up a lot of stuff because I always get nervous that like I'm pricing things too high, but I go and look at what it's sold for versus what it's listed for. Like, for an example, when I looked up that Deftone shirt, I saw people that had it listed for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, but the max that I sold it sell for, and it sold a couple times for that, was 1,200. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna price it at 1,200. And like with that being said, if somebody came in and offered me like $800, I probably would take it. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like just because it's a $1,200 shirt doesn't mean if nobody's willing to pay that, it's not a $1,200 shirt. And I'm very aware of that, and I try to be very conscious of that whenever people are in shopping, and even just like starting conversations with people and working out deals. Like I want you to be happy as much as I want to sell that shirt. Like some of it, the guys are hoarders a little bit, and they do get like possessive about some things. But 90% of the time, if it's hanging in here, I don't want to just look at it every day. I want it to go home to its forever home.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's ultimately the goal, right? That's how you guys keep the lights on, keep the people paid, and all that. Now, what gives these pieces their value exactly? Like what is it that makes a t-shirt worth $1,200? And I get it, you can negotiate the pricing, but
Yeah.
market value starting at $1,200. What is it exactly?
So, I mean, when it comes down to the essentials, it's supply and demand. Do you know what I mean? When it
Yep.
comes down to it, so many people want this shirt. There's only so many left, especially like old band tees. Like before I found that Deftone shirt, the most expensive shirt I ever saw was like Nirvana. We used to have a $1,000 Nirvana in utero shirt, and that was the most expensive shirt I've ever seen. And the way that it was kind of explained to me is Nirvana was kind of like top tier of like vintage band tees, like, I like, and it goes through fads, so it's like hard to tell. It goes through fads and everything goes up and down. How I was saying Harley was really big. Now wrestling tees are really big, and like movie promo tees. It kind of all goes through fads. So it really just depends kind of how the market is right now. Same with shoes, same with really anything that you sell. The market kind of goes up and down, but at the end of the day, it is supply and demand. Like there's only so many people out there. There's so many people that come into our store that are like, oh my God, I have that tee at home. And I'm like, that's like a $300 tee. Like, bring it in. I'll give you some money for it. Like, and we've gotten a lot of clothes like that.
It's
Like,
awesome.
it's people just don't know what they have. People don't know what they want. It is a fad right now. Like, I'm praying and hoping that it never becomes like not a fad anymore, because then I might have a job. But I don't think that it will. But
I think so either.
everything that goes like that. I mean, you hop on and like I'm wearing an essentials hoodie right now. Like this was like a $200 hoodie. And it's like nobody blinks an eye about that. I hopped on to forget this one platform, like Feature. Have you heard of that? Like
No,
Feature.
I
It's called Feature. It's just they just sell like hype brand stuff. There's this brand I've never heard of before selling $500 tees. And I'm like, why are people looking at me like I'm crazy when that shirt was probably just made for $10 and they're selling it for $500? But this is a shirt that I probably paid like half as much as whatever it's priced at for. I probably paid $100 at least for it. Like, and it actually has value. Like it's like from the old concert. Like there's a story behind it. I love making Instagram posts, like trying to like pretend like what the story was behind the piece and like giving it like a little history. Or even like if we buy off somebody, I'll ask them like what the history of was it, and then like history of it was, and then kind of like use that as like a sales tactic and stuff like that. So it's just nice, and it is better quality. The stuff is better quality. As long as you don't run into any dry rot or anything like that, you're going to know that this is a piece that's not going to fall apart. It's not like a sheen top that you're going to wash it once and it's going to fall to pieces.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously that adds value to it. Now, what you mentioned that you see some trends that are developing right now, like with wrestling and some other stuff, but how do you keep your finger on the pulse, if you will? Like, what gives you some indications of like, okay, this thing's starting to catch traction? Like, what do you look for these trends?
I mean, like I follow the trend as much as I can, but as I said, like I was explaining to you how I price things, that's kind of what I do all the time. And that's just like kind of go with the vibe. With vintage being so hard to find, we really keep almost all of the vintage that we find for ourselves and end up putting it into our stores just because it is so hard to find and it's so like, I don't know, like rare, stuff like that. So we keep everything. It's just the stuff that is hot right now just gets priced higher. I try my best to keep up with it, but it's so hard. I honestly like gave up. Like that's like trying to keep up with like shoes right now. Like there's no way. Like people say that they keep up with the shoes, like shoes dropping, but there's literally no way. They drop a new pair like 4 times a week. Like, who has the time? And I know there's like that, what, like J43 app that you can like, it'll like list when all the upcoming drops are and what they are. And I had that for a while. And then I was just like, you know what? I just need to take a step back. I have so much going on. Like, I would love to be able to stay on top of it, but I think I do the best that I can. And I just try to look and see what other people are posting and like what other people are going. And like, that's why I like going to vintage events, is because you can see a lot of people and see what they're kind of into and what they're doing, and stuff like that. And I just kind of like follow their lead.
No, that makes sense. And that's one of the cool things about the world that we live in today in this information age. Whatever your interests are or is, like, you can get totally consumed by it. But I'm not big into shoes or clothing. That's not really my thing. I appreciate the value behind it. I appreciate the culture that comes along with it. But just hearing the fact that there's apps that can tell you when these sneakers are dropping, and then you can find out how much these items are going for. Like, if you want to really learn about something, it's almost impossible not to learn about it today.
Oh yeah, but then it's going to consume your whole life and you will have nothing else. This job already consumes my life. I can't have the sneaker and vintage world consuming it too.
Yeah, no, I get that. So fun question for you. Money, network, or fame, which would you choose and why?
I saw you ask Marvin this, and honestly, I kind of have to agree with him. I would definitely go with network. I mean, like, money and fame are cool and all, but like, I mean, like, I haven't grown up and like been around a lot of rich people. I mean, I don't know if they're happy or not, or happier than me, but I know I'm happy right now. I'm above the poverty line. I'm happy. That's all I really need, you know? And if I wanted to, I could easily go get a side gig right now and do vintage, I could do stuff on the side. And it's like, I would rather just have fun and like get to know people. I'm such like a, what's the word for like an going out person? An
Extrovert.
extrovert. I'm such an extrovert. I like going out and I love meeting new people and I love doing things and like going to events. The most fun I ever had is just like talking to people and like getting to know other people and just stuff like that. Like, fame would be cool. I mean, like, if I could meet Kim K, like I got famous enough to meet Kim K, that'd be pretty cool. But I'd still networking. There. I just talked about I want to be famous so I can meet someone. Networking.
I think that's gonna be a theme of the show. I think is to ask every business owner, operator, what would you pick? And I have a feeling that almost everybody's gonna say network.
Well, you think they're all
It
gonna be
just
honest? I feel
makes
like
sense.
you have to though. Like, I'm being honest, I swear, but I feel like you have to. Like, if you say money, like you kind of seem a little. I don't know about you, buddy.
Yeah, so I mean, they could be doing it to save face too. Like, maybe that deep down inside, they're like, "I want the money. I don't care about anybody else. Just give me the money."
Yeah,
I
I mean, I'd be cool. I tell Lance all the time. I'm like, I'd be cool if you paid me some more. Like, we're cool.
I mean, money doesn't hurt. Money doesn't hurt. That's for
Exactly,
sure.
exactly. But like, yeah, honestly, that's my favorite part of my day. Like, I spend a lot of time like. This is my office that we're in right now. It's kind of like a closet. It's very tiny, but it's cool. It's all I need. But I'll sit in here and just be doing like payroll and doing like updating the website, doing event calendars, and so much stuff all day long. That like my favorite part of my day is just walking outside and just talking to customers. Like it gives me a break from just like I don't know the craziness of being a manager and managing people.
Yeah, no, for sure. You can blow off some steam, especially if you're extroverted. I mean, that's what you want to do anyway. That's where you're going to get your energy from. Is being around
Mhm.
people. And you're in the perfect industry, the perfect environment to do that. So it seems like a perfect fit for you. Now, what is your biggest motivation right now? Like, what's driving you the most?
Um, Honestly, I'm a bit of a people pleaser. So really, when I take something off of the owner's, what off of Lance's plate or, the guy's plate, or I help them do something, or, I come up with a good idea. Oh, I love when I come up with good ideas. That's like my favorite thing ever. I get to plan a lot of events and do a lot of things and like come up with a lot of designs for like posters and stuff like that. So being creative is obviously really fun. But um just like knowing that I'm helping them grow the company, I guess, is if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know that that's necessarily like, because people pleaser gives a negative connotation.
I know, yeah.
So I think it's just more so being given and wanting to help.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. That makes total sense because I feel the same way. Like I mentioned to you as well, I work a full time job, but at the same time I have a business and I'm trying to grow. And at my job, while I'm there, I want to be the best employee I can, and I'll do extra things to help. And it's not because I'm trying to like win favor, but it's like I get enjoyment out of helping the company and
Oh
trying
yeah.
to implement an idea or something like that, like you were mentioning. And I feel like that's something that isn't talked about in the right context enough.
Mhm. No, I it honestly makes me so happy, and it's like, not only that, is just, like, seeing how happy they get, and, like, when, like, they not like I'm, like, a praise person, but I am a little bit of praise person. I like to be told I'm doing a good job, so, like, whenever I, like, do things good and I help them, um, get something done, that only always makes me happy. And then the way that they react makes me happy. Like when you give somebody a birthday present and they get like really happy and they love their present, like that, like that's probably my biggest motivator. That's kind of how I feel almost every day.
Oh, that's amazing. And you mentioned that when you come up with an idea, it makes you happy, and they implement it. When an idea that they implement, can you tell me a time when you've come up with an idea and then they've implemented it, and then you see it manifest, come into fruition?
Oh my god, so many. If you ever look on our website, I didn't really come up with like the theme, but I kind of came up with, I created all the blog posts, I created the event calendars. Most of the events are my ideas. Like I like to be able to like talk with them and spitball ideas back and forth. I'm big into that. Um, the entire way that the store is laid out, me. I'm the organizer. Like they have like their ideas, but I'll actually go in and organize all the clothing so everything is organized the way that I like. Um, Everything at the store, when I first started working at Butler, there were like no processes, no systems in place. It was just kind of like, okay, well, I kind of got thrown into the deep end. I'm not gonna lie. When I first started there, like they trained me a couple days, and then they just kind of like left and started doing their thing. And so I was just kind of there. So I pretty much implemented almost every single process we have for doing everything. Like even as simple as like when new inventory comes in, how we tag things, how we price things, how we organize things, even like the basement. I'm a little OCD. So when I train people, I definitely make sure like I walk with them through it a whole bunch of times. But I have at both stores, I created binders, just regular binders, but they have like how to do everything, like everything you'd ever need to know, how to print out shipping labels, how to print out barcodes, how to add something in the system. I put like how to do it and I include pictures of everything. So it's like really like you can't mess it up. So all of that was me. So, yeah, but, like, they do a lot, like, I'm not trying to seem like I do everything, I hope that didn't seem like that because they do a lot, but, like, I think I'm more focused than they are. They're more, like, throwing stuff out there, and then I kind of, like,
you know
calm them down.
it's the perfect relationship. This is something that I struggle with. I am, a bit of a creative myself. I love to write. I get into video editing a little bit, and I'm not the greatest at it, but I get into poetry, writing short stories, and being a business owner, you have to be a creative person, and that's something that I struggle with myself. And the person that I have that works for me right now, he actually helps me to come back down to reality. He's like, okay, good idea, but how are we going to do this? Like, we'll figure it out. Like, let's think about it. Like, so that's something that I think is very crucial, and it's an essential piece in a business is to have somebody that's like, okay, let me be not really the foundation, but help to lay the foundation, because the
Yeah.
creativity is a part of it, but also putting order to it, because creativity is kind of chaotic. It just
Yeah.
comes with it. It's like the wind; it just comes and goes. So you need something to stabilize it.
Well, like, what's crazy is the more I think about it is, like, I think we kind of all do that for each other because I can, like, definitely think of times where I've been like, "Oh my god, we should do that." I can't think of, like, an example off the top of my head right now, like but, like, I'll definitely be that person that, like, comes up with stupid, crazy ideas sometimes, and they're, like, sometimes like, "Kelsey, like, you gotta chill out." Oh my god, last summer they wanted to like go. We did like ThriftCon last summer. It ended up being a really good event, but there was one in Vegas. They were like, "Let's go to Vegas," and I'm like, "Guys, we're not gonna drive this gas guzzling van the whole way. Like, fill it up with stuff." They wanted to take both the vans too. Fill up these two gas guzzlers, drive them to Vegas, because I knew they wanted to gamble the whole time. I knew that was the secret reason why they wanted to go. So I had to pull them back in, bring them back to earth a little bit.
Maybe this is one of the parts we have to edit out.
Oh yeah, maybe. No, they don't care. They don't care. But I was gonna ask you actually. I know you're interviewing me, but whenever you hired an employee, did you find it hard to like kind of step back from some of the things you normally were doing and kind of like let them do it?
No, because I have had many failed businesses. I've tried my hands in numerous things, and the last thing that I tried was something similar to this, but we were covering like news, sports, getting into culture, and so I had like about 10 people working underneath me, all for free. Like it was just me like convincing them of this idea, and it worked out for maybe like 5 months. And
Mhm.
so right away I had to like learn to just start delegating. And so I'm a big believer in learning from people that are way ahead of you.
Mhm.
And so one of the biggest things that I found out from people that I listen to and watch is you as the leader, you have to learn to delegate. You have to be an effective delegator. So that's just something in my mind I was always prepared to do. Now I do find myself, especially now since this is the most successful business I've started, being a little more like not just completely delegating it off and like hands off the wheel. Like I'm still like we got a new account that we cleaned yesterday, and I go there to help them with the new accounts, and I'm seeing something that's dirty over there. I'm like, did you actually try to get that? Like, because I can't go over there.
I do that, yeah.
He's already mopping the floor. I'm like, but did you actually get that?
I do.
So like there's times I'm doing that, but I think that just like I said, from the people that I've listened to, the books I've read, I've kind of mentally prepared myself for those times. But it does get hard,
It's
because
hard.
especially when he first started, I was like, treat these places that you're cleaning like it's your business. Like, don't make me look bad. Like that was my whole thing. Like, don't make this look bad. And he does a phenomenal job. He's a better cleaner than I am. I'm not a good cleaner. That's not me. But
I love that. No, I love when I have an employee who I train and then they end up being better at me than me at something, and I'm like kind of like, okay, cool, but like love that.
yeah. No, like I get more into like the sales side of things, the business side of things, the coming up with ideas and implementing them. Like that's where my strong suits lie. And yeah, I mean, really just finding people to match, where your weaknesses to
Yeah,
weaknesses is the biggest thing that I found out.
yeah, I have to vibe very hard with anyone that I hire. Like when we interviewed out here, we probably interviewed like 50 people. We hired 5. Like, it was, like, so hard, but I really honestly just had to go off of vibes. I'm not even kidding you. I did, and it worked out so good. I mean, we're down to 4 now, but that's fine. I love them all. They're perfect. They're doing amazing. Couldn't wish for anything better.
Well, it's so important to do that too, because the culture, as we talked about at the beginning, that's the most important thing for any company, but especially a small company.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's so many bigger companies who can offer these people more money, more insurance, a retirement plan. And so to be competitive, you have to have the culture, as we talked about. Now, I have 2 more questions for you.
I'm here. Ready?
What book or movie or video would you recommend to somebody who's looking to, get into business for themselves? Like, is there anything that's inspired you that you're like, this is something they have to watch or listen?
I actually, am reading a book right now about digital marketing, but I cannot remember for the life of me what it's called. Honestly can't, but I am in the process also of taking a digital marketing class, and that obviously that's just to do with marketing, but that it's such a big thing. Like we kind of just realized we've been open since like 2019. So, and we just opened this one. But we kind of just realized like honestly like this year that we were like, why are we limiting ourselves to just marketing like in this one area? Like we have a website that's pretty easy to use and pretty awesome. We need to be marketing everywhere. So right now that's definitely the most beneficial thing is that marketing class. I forget what it's called. It's like digital marketing. I don't know. I don't know. I can send it to you. You can like pin it to the video. But as far as like how to get into vintage and how to get into like shoes, Honestly, I don't know if there's a specific video or book that I could recommend. You honestly just need to get in with somebody who knows and that can teach you, because that's really the only way you're going to learn. Like, I could easily sit here and list off like 20 key like aspects that make something vintage and like, you know, things to look out for and blah blah blah, but until you're actually like getting your hands on pieces and looking at examples and sorting for yourself and doing it yourself, you're really not going to be able to learn. Like, I'm not kidding you, I'm at the point now where I can almost feel a shirt and tell if it's vintage or not just by the condition. Obviously it's not like a perfect science, but you know, there's a feel to it, and once you get that good at, like, you know, and but it's also such a hard thing to teach. Like, I don't know if I'd be good at teaching people about it.
No, that's awesome, and I couldn't agree more. I think that the most practical way for anybody to learn is hands-on. Now, I'm a big reader, so you know, I like to, you know, obviously get information from that, but I couldn't agree more. I've learned more from actually being hands-on than I have from reading a book. You know, unless it's some like abstract piece of information that's really hard to bring into reality. But yeah, I couldn't agree more. Now, the last thing, where can people find you and the store?
Okay, so we have two locations. Our original location is in downtown Butler, Pennsylvania, about 40 minutes north of Pittsburgh. It's 102 North Main Street, Butler, Pennsylvania. It's right downtown. Can't miss it. Right in between Benji's and First Commonwealth. Like, it's a little cute little town. You'd like it there. Social medias for that one is just at Branded in Butler. We have a TikTok too. It's branded_in_Butler. Both the stores use the same website, so it's just brandedinbutler.com. We add new stuff there every Thursday, so that's what we add, probably about 150 to 200 items every week. So definitely good to keep up with that. You can sort by size, color, condition. Well, not condition, kind of condition. You'll see if you look at the website. So everything like that. Style, we do style as well. The second location we just opened on Black Friday is in downtown Kent. It's 100 East Erie Street, Suite 122, right by Fresco and Barfly. Can't miss it. Huge sign. There's some cute lights out there. But yeah. And then the Instagram for that is at Branded at Kent, and the TikTok is Branded at Kent.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming on today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Sorry I'm kind of all over the place.
No, it was good. It was good.
Okay.